Stay tuned for the Splash Live. It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the Greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm your host, Jake Sheff, going over all of the biggest news and events from right here in Greater West Bloomfield. The people of West Bloomfield are still in celebration mode after the West Bloomfield Lakers' recent victory over Rochester Adams 12-6. With the West Bloomfield Lakers already off to a 3-0 season, many stars are beginning to emerge on this team, including players who are continuing to make a name for themselves after a strong season last year. One of those top players is Jamal Shakespeare, who recently spoke with our own Tyler Kieft on his performance this season.
I'm Tyler Kieft, joined by West Bloomfield Lakers quarterback, safety, and all-around athlete Jamal Shakespeare. Jamal, impressive start to the year for the Lakers, 3-0. It seems like the veterans on your team have some solid handle on the leadership this year. What's been the difference between this time a year ago and now that's made your team turn into quite a prolific winner in these first 3 weeks?
Really enforcing the leadership and senior leadership in the team. That's why I feel like that we lacked last year, that this year we really made sure to hit it home on. You know, the captains all being seniors, we all hang out together. So we're just really working on keeping our team together, and especially since we got a couple of young guys more than we had in the past, keeping them tight and close like our brothers, like we say it's a family thing. So, yeah.
It does really seem, too, like the defense has that chemistry on lock this season. How has this been kind of the second full year for most of this defense being in a starting role, having some familiarity with the veteran players on other teams? How much is that playing a role in your team's ability to lock down your opponents these first few weeks?
It helps a lot because with them being veterans and them being here for 4 years, you kind of already have that chemistry with your brothers, and especially in class of 2026, a lot of us, this is our first time playing together as a team because my freshman year, I was always on JV along with Will Espy and Jeremiah Benson. So adding us three to the defense and along with some couple other guys, I think we have like 8 or 7 returning seniors. And so it just gels together the whole defense, and, you know, that's how we can be able to face those adversities and stay in the battle, and that's what it feels contribute to our defense being really good this year.
In those first couple of weeks, you kind of expected it to be West Bloomfield taking care of business with Fordson against Southfield A&T, two teams that are kind of rebuilding their programs right now, as opposed to last week with Rochester Adams. You're expecting that to be the first test, but it seemed like the defense was pretty comfortable against the Highlanders.
Yes, we've been preaching communication, togetherness, brotherhood for I don't know how long, for this whole offseason. So I feel like when adversity hit, we should be ready for it, and we was ready for it when adversity hit in Rochester game. When they scored, we didn't get down. We just leaned on our brothers like I've been telling the team, like all the captains, we all been preaching it. We had player meetings. We talked about what we're going to do when adversity hits, and, I mean, it just played out in that game.
There were a lot of questions from pundits coming into this season about another year of the two-quarterback system offensively. Last year was you and Bo Jackson. This year it's you and Jackson Carver, but it seems like it's a pretty comfortable dynamic. I talked to Jackson a couple weeks ago on the first episode of our season here after the Fordson game, and he seemed to say that you guys got that chemistry down and you both know your roles and fit into them really well. What's the dynamic like for you being one of the two quarterbacks starting on this team?
It's not really a competition. He can do things I can't, I can do things he can't. And when one of us in the game, the other one's paying attention to see what the defense is doing. And when we come back on the sidelines, we talking what we see. And then we're just keeping each other in the game mentally. And we're going over plays and I'm helping him in practice, and he helping me in practice and all this and that. And especially on the offensive side, make sure that his head's in game. That we talk about what he's seeing, what he's thinking, like what he feel about the play calls and all that. So it's not really a competition. It's a family. Like I said, me and Jackson got a really close relationship. So it's really working out for us.
How much did you guys practice that trick play last week, getting Jackson out into the boundary as a receiver, him making a leaping catch and a big momentum turn against Adams?
Yes, I think that play we practiced it probably 2 or 3 times in practice, and we caught that in game. I was just my biggest responsibility was just getting the ball to him and not trying to make him have to catch it some wild and crazy way. So we did it. Then I seen he was wide open, and I just threw it to him. I trusted him to make the catch, and he made the catch and got out of bounds and new set of downs.
A pretty consequential play in the Lakers' 12-6 victory over Rochester Adams last week, joined by Jamal Shakespeare, one of the captains on this Lakers team in 2025. And the Lakers off to a 3-0 start, looking forward to Lake Orion this week. In Lake Orion, going on the road. Now this is kind of where things get a little bit different for your team, because you've had 3 home games in the Lakers' home environment, all that energy from the home crowd. Now you got to go on the road. And with the younger guys on your team, what advice have you given to them about adjusting to a raucous road environment like you often see when you go to Lake Orion?
When we go to Lake Orion, it's the same thing that we do here, like handle business. The only thing different is it's not our home field, it's their home field. And so, like I tell the guys, we don't talk before the game. We don't do no trash talking before the game. We let our talking do it on Friday. We talk on Fridays, and so that's what we've been preaching as a team. That's been our team motto kind of for this whole year, is that we talk on Fridays. And so when this week Friday, we just gonna go to Lake Orion and do what we do, play Laker football.
Jeremiah said it in the huddle after the game last week, as did Coach Wheeler, one of the assistants on this team. He's a state champion. He's one of the all-time great defensive players on this team. Preached staying focused and staying humble. As one of the veteran players on this team, how do you help to focus some of the younger guys that are getting their first varsity action this year, seeing the excitement, they're 3-0, to keep this momentum going for your team?
Really reminding them that take advantage of every opportunity you get. Like our defensive coordinator always say, you might not be a starter, but when you're in the game, you're a starter. So when you're in the game, you're a starter. Make sure you're reading your keys, make sure you're doing your responsibilities, and make sure you're doing all your assignments, because missed assignments on defense isn't like missed assignments on offense. Missed assignment on defense can lead into a touchdown. Missed assignments on offense can lead into an incomplete pass, and that's down, that's next play. But, that's what we've been doing, what we've been preaching. And having that 0-0 mentality every week from week, 0-0 mentality. After the game, we always say 24-hour rule. Don't post nothing. Don't care about what people saying. You know how they didn't have us ranked in the beginning of the year. Now they have us ranked, but we don't even pay attention to that. Everybody on the team's on the same page. We all feel the same way. We all have the exact same goal, and that's where we want to get to states.
Jamal Shakespeare with me on This Week in Laker Football. Lakers going on the road to Lake Orion Friday, 7 o'clock kickoff in Dragon Country. It's going to be only on the NFHS network. We'll have a link for you on civiccentertv.com/Lakersports. Jamal, it's a polar opposite now versus a year ago for this Lakers team. Last year, a lot of those games ended in close matchups, 5-6 record. A lot of those losses were in 1 or 2 score games that really came down to the wire. So in this season, what are some of those key differences that you think have put the momentum more in the Lakers' favor as you look to the OAA Red Division? That's always tough to play week in and week out.
Definitely having a strong line up front. I feel like that's what contributes to the defense the most is the defensive lineman. You know, the game starts and ends with the trenches. So if we win the trenches, then we have a high probability and a high chance of winning the game, and that's what we've been working on. You know, defense, secondaries, we all on the same page. Linebackers, we all on the same page. Defensive front, they do their thing. You know, you got guys like Jeremiah Benson, Tank Pittman, and Joel Evans and Tristan Hunt. You can count on them guys to always get back there and sack the quarterback. And so it kind of takes the pressure off the secondary and takes the pressure off the rest of the team. And you just preach the offense to go out there and do your thing and score the ball. And that's one thing the offense been doing, getting those chunk of yards. Me and Will at running back, Jackson at quarterback, and Obi. And we got a good set of receivers that we haven't opened up the passing game as people seen more in the past, but that's coming. We're gonna be opening up that for sure.
Slowly developing last week, 20 yards in the air for Jamal, 75 on the ground, and a blocked punt to cause the Lakers' third consecutive game forcing a safety on their opponents. They've only allowed 6 points in these first 3 weeks. Jamal, thank you as always, and good luck this week.
Thank you.
As a reminder, this Friday, the Lakers will have their first away game of the season heading over to face Lake Orion. Make sure you head over to civiccentertv.com/Lakersports to stay up to date on Laker news and catch this week's edition of This Week in Laker Football. Once again, that's civiccentertv.com/Lakersports. Every day, millions of people all across the world celebrate their birthday. But it's not every day that someone hits the incredible milestone of celebrating their 100th birthday. Well, today, that is exactly the case for one West Bloomfield resident. Lila LeClaire is turning 100 years old today, having been born on September 17th, 1925. Now, to paint the picture a little more clearly, back in 1925, television did not exist, Alaska and Hawaii had yet to become official states, and the President of the United States, Calvin Coolidge. That's President number 30 for all you history buffs out there. And Lila has seen it all. An incredible life of memories, families, faith, and more. I had the chance to speak with Lila at her home a couple days ago to learn about her life and the reflections as she prepared to turn a century old.
I don't feel 100. And to me, it's just me, and I'm just living another day. I can't fathom all the fuss that's being made over me because I've lived to be 100, or I'm living to be 100. I never dreamed, I never even thought about living that long. Never occurred to me that I would ever live that long.
What do you think is the secret to living a long and healthy life?
Well, growing up on the farm, we had everything natural. We had our own beef, we had our own pork, we had our own chicken, fresh milk, not pasteurized, fresh milk. My mother made her own butter. We had a garden. And I can remember when canning came in. And my dad would have a beef that would be butchered, and she would can the meat. Actually, cut it up in chunks and can it. They had a way of, so I got fresh milk to drink. I got fresh vegetables. They were probably canned, but in the summertime they were fresh. So I never got osteoporosis because I had fresh milk all the time. I think it was a very good way to begin your life with all that fresh stuff.
Healthy living, of course, playing a big role in making Lila the woman she is today. And even at 100 years old, Lila still does many things to stay active, and she is even still able to drive. I should mention, Lila did offer me a ride around town to prove her capabilities, and although I believe her, I did have to decline. But having lived 100 years, there's a lot of news and major world events that she's lived through, including World War II. Lila told me what it was like first hearing the news of the war and a reflective journey she made later on in her life.
Well, I was in high school when we were attacked in Pearl Harbor. And I didn't even learn about it until I went to school on Monday. I mean, that's how far away from the real life was at that time. And at that time, it didn't mean a whole lot to me. I didn't know where Pearl Harbor was. But I lived through that. I didn't meet my husband joined at 17 and was shipped overseas. I didn't meet him until after the war. So I lived through that, and eventually I got to go to Pearl Harbor. We took a cruise across where one of the American ships had been sunk, and it's still under the water. You walk across this bridge, and there's this big memorial. And the odd part of it was not only were the Americans there, the Japanese were there too, visiting. But they got along. There was, but it's just amazing to think of all those poor boys buried in that ship.
I'd imagine that would be an emotional journey for anybody to take. Another big component in Lila's life has been her strong faith in God, which she told me has helped her through some darker times in her life, such as the loss of her husband and her son, and brought her out to the other side.
How long were you married?
Almost 59 years. He's been gone for 13 now. It'll be 13 years. He died in October in 2012. Everybody loved him. I think they loved him more than me. Anyway, no, everybody loved him. We had a wonderful life. Really had a wonderful life. And church was one of the main things in our life. We started going to church when our daughter was very young, and church was a big part of our life as a married couple, yes. The main thing in my life, I think, the main thing that's carried me through. And I lost my one and only son. He's been gone 8 years now, and but God got me through on both. And people wonder, how do you get through? Well, you just go on one day after another and cherish your memories, your wonderful memories, and my great family that I have left. My grandkids, my great-grandkids, my daughter, my son-in-law. Big part of my family that holds us all together. And my son-in-law has a favorite saying that I have. They'll say, "How are you today?" He'll say, "Too blessed to complain." And I love that expression. I've copied it. I've taken it from him and used that a lot myself.
The biggest thing I took away from my discussion with Lila is how much family means to her. It's the most important thing in the world. As Lila mentioned, she is a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother, and even a great-great-grandmother, if you can believe it. And this past Sunday, her family came out to surprise her with a wonderful 100th birthday celebration that Lila told me took her breath away.
I was floored, absolutely floored. It started in the church service when they sang happy birthday to me, the whole congregation. And then the preacher, when he got up to speak, he said, "Lila, I wore a pink shirt and a pink tie today just for you." But when I walked into the room where they had it all decorated and the meal was catered, it just blew me away. Just literally blew me away. And the crowd, I couldn't believe. And while we were eating, they kept coming up. "I want a picture with you. I want a picture with you." It's just me. I'm just floored at the fuss that was made over me yesterday.
Means a lot to you that they were all there?
Oh, my, yes. Oh, my, yes. And my daughter was there, blessed by sweet Judy. She's the joy of my life. Yep. She means everything to me. And my grandkids. I love my family.
Seeing the amount of love Lila's family has for her would bring a tear to anybody's eye. I had an incredible time speaking with Lila, and before I wrap things up, I asked her what the biggest piece of advice she had to offer for anyone living their life.
Positivity. You've got to be positive. and stop finding fault with everything, every little thing, just because they don't agree with you. You know, you might be wrong, and they might be right, and I might be wrong, and you might be right. So have a discussion, but stay positive.
Wise words that everybody can take with them. Cheers to you, Lila. Happy 100th birthday from all of us here at Civic Center TV. We hope you have another incredible day in what's already been an incredible life. On Sunday, September 28th, the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield will be hosting their Out of Africa dinner and auction at the Pine Lake Country Club, all with the purpose to raise funds and awareness for Omni's mission of providing essential medical care, education, and humanitarian aid for vulnerable children in Zambia. Marlon Mackey of the Rotary Club recently joined us to tell us all about it.
Ms. Mackey, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you on to talk about this. It's an annual fundraiser. It's one of the biggest fundraising opportunities of the year that is put forth by the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield. Tell us a little bit about what people can expect if they show up on September 28th to the Out of Africa fundraiser.
Well, we are having, as you know, we're having a dinner at Pine Lake Country Club, also a silent and live auction, during which there will opportunity to buy raffle tickets for a 50-50 raffle. And there will be many opportunities for people to show their support for the kids that we're trying to help.
And it all goes to support an organization called Omni. Give us a little bit of information, some insight for those not familiar with this, haven't gone to the fundraiser, haven't heard of it on our programming and in other places in past years. What does Omni do that makes the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield put its support behind them year in and year out?
Well, first of all, the acronym OMNI stands for Orphans Medical Network International. And right now we are working very hard in Africa and have been there for the last 20-some years. And so but we are supporting the most vulnerable and impoverished children that you could imagine. And we are trying to get them and their communities every possible help so that they have a viable future.
So what inspired this? It's, as you said, almost 20 years or over 20 years that this fundraiser has been ongoing with the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield. What inspired the beginning of raising funds for this organization that does work far and beyond the confines of our community?
Well, as you know, Rotary is service above self, and Rotary aims to help all people in many different communities, and often they have an international project, and that's what this one is. My husband has been with this organization for some 20 years, almost since its beginning, and it started out with the team of medical missionaries going over to Africa, and ended up with a much broader scope than it has now.
We did talk to Dr. Mackey just before the Michigan Week Awards in May of this year, and part of our conversation with Dr. Mackey was about his experiences going to these parts of Africa, going to Zambia in particular to help Omni with some of these services. So for those that aren't familiar with the end cause of why this is being supported by the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield, you raise all these funds, you send them to Omni. How do they help with the boots on the ground in places like Zambia, helping out these kids?
Well, I don't know if it's general knowledge, but in Zambia, in order to go to school, the children must be able to buy the uniform, and their parents have to belong to the PTO. Well, if you're an orphan, you obviously don't have that opportunity. And even worse, if you have parents who are alive and they're poor, you still don't have that opportunity to go to school. So the cycle of poverty just kind of repeats itself over and over again. What now? We have a school over there in which we have 365 children that attend there. And almost every person there, well, they're chosen by need. So 50% of the children have lost one or both of their parents. They all face chronic hunger, they lack medical treatment, and cannot afford to attend the public school. So what we do is we try to take in the most vulnerable of all of these children, give them an education, and a hot meal every single day. We give them food to take home on the weekend, which we'll tell you a little bit more about that. They get a school uniform for free. Twice a year, they get shoes on their feet, which is a big way of preventing a lot of diseases. They get treated mosquito netting for their homes because they don't live in homes like you and I. They live in huts that have dirt floors, no heat, no electricity, and no furniture. So they're very, very poor people. So the money that we raise, we right now try to sponsor at least 20 children. So we have a grant with the Rotary that will help us out, but we must raise at least $5,000 in order to do our part of that grant. And luckily, we have been fortunate in the past years to be able to raise more than that. So we've been able to do a whole lot more than just 20 kids. Each child sponsorship for 1 year is $420, which is not a lot of money.
Yeah, for 20 kids each, that goes a long way to be able to help almost a full classroom's worth of children, especially if you exceed that baseline goal of 20. That is a significant amount of orphan children in Zambia that are going to be able to have that education, that those medical needs being met as well, and so many of these other services. Marlon, you and your family have participated in this for many of these last 20 years, if not every single one of them in some capacity. So you are uniquely familiar with how Omnis work on the ground and how these fundraisers help these communities across the globe. But for those that join in on these fundraisers, maybe they did last year or a couple of years ago, maybe they are going to for the first time this year on September 28th at Pine Lake Country Club for this particular year's fundraiser. What typically is the reaction from those that go to this event and learn more about Omni's work when they learn just how far their dollar is going when they donate by coming to this event?
Well, I think people start to realize when they hear the stories of the children and their families, of which there are many stories you can imagine. When they start to hear these stories, they realize how lucky we were to be born in the country that we are in, and that these children have nothing and they will not get anywhere unless they get an education and have someone help them just get out of that spiral. So all of the money that we raise, every penny of it goes for the kids. Anybody in the United States that works with Omni is a volunteer. No one is paid for anything. On the years that the medical team's over, each person on the medical team paid their own way, their own airfare, their own hotel, their own food, and then ended up donating more money, usually while they were there because they saw a need and just jumped in and said, here, I'll put more money into that. So you know your money is going to help somebody for sure.
And that's what's important here, is that the money and the fellowship from this organization and from your organization with the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield, it actually goes to help actual people. It's not done for a photo op to get missionaries out there for their own purposes or for advertising and marketing. This is legitimately helping people in legitimate need in places that are in vulnerable situations, like the orphans that are in these scenarios in places like Zambia. Marlon Mackey is with us from the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield on today's edition of the Splash Live, their annual Out of Africa fundraiser helping Orphan Medical Network International, or Omni. September 28th begins at 4 p.m. Pine Lake Country Club in West Bloomfield. The auction, silent and live, begins at 4 p.m. Drawings at 7:30 p.m. with a dinner and a whole lot of fun in between all of that. More information on westbloomfieldrotary.org, or follow them on Facebook at West Bloomfield Rotary as well. Marlon, this all goes back to the overall mission of the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield, something that the people will also be able to learn about by attending this fundraiser. So how does it fit the vision of the Rotary Club? Of course, you mentioned the motto being service above self, but also help to tie the community here locally closer to that mission as well.
Just so you would know, in this past year, the past 2 years, there's been a drought. And the people didn't have enough problems being with poverty. Now they couldn't even grow crops. So we have done a lot of things there, like drilling more wells, making fresh water available to the community. We built the police station on our property so that we have increased security for our children. We just completed this week a gender-based violence counseling center to help combat the domestic violence that is quite rampant over there in Zambia. But anything that people can do to help out is very much appreciated. And we have pictures to show and stories to tell. So we hope that you can come and join us.
We do as well. Marlon, we know it's a very busy part of the year for people. They have a lot going on this fall between their kids in school, family events, the holidays, and all of that. So if they're not able to attend this fundraiser on September 28th, what are some other ways they can get involved, either with the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield or helping out Omni in the near future?
Well, they can always look on our webpage, as you gave the directions for that. They could buy raffle tickets. We have raffle tickets for a 50-50 raffle that are $20 a piece. And there's going to be a winner. Last year's winner took home over $2,000. We also have sponsorships for children. So anybody can sponsor a child for $420 a year or $35 a month, if you care to do it that way, and give another child, besides the ones that we hope to sponsor, another child personal life. These kids are so thankful for that. A recent trip to Zambia, a little girl came up to my husband and said, "Would you please sponsor me? My friends have a sponsor. I don't have a sponsor. Could you please sponsor me?" And of course, he said, "Yes, he will." So her name is Priscilla, and she's one of the children that we've sponsored now. She's now going into the 9th grade. Wow. So there's, if you look on the Rotary webpage, there are ways that you can donate there also. Just cash donations of any kind are always welcome because we have so much to do. And as I said, we have branched out into so many different areas, coming from a medical mission to now having a school. We feel responsible for every single one of those children, but we also are working with the community to develop their resources, small businesses, and we give them vocational training. We even have adult classes at night at our school to help them. The ones that have never gotten a chance to go to school can now learn how to read as an adult. So we just feel that our mission is quite valuable.
Your service and your patronage goes a long way to help real people in tough situations all over the globe, all in the name of supporting a good cause from right here close to home in Greater West Bloomfield. Marlon, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Sunday, September 28th is the date once again for the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield's Out of Africa Dinner and Auction that's being held at Pine Lake Country Club. Big thank you to Marlon for stopping by and for telling us all about it right here on the Splash Live. The West Bloomfield Fire Department Open House is quickly approaching, taking place this Sunday, September 21st, a little earlier than normal due to the impending construction work at Fire Station Number 1. Of course, it's more than just the fire department who will be out at this year's event, as there will be plenty of sponsors and vendors out to benefit and support the fire department. One of those vendors joins us right now on the Splash Live, the owner of Great Lakes Dryer Vent Services, Tracy Carlock. Tracy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, this is going to be such a great event that's taking place this weekend with the fire department. What inspired you to become involved with this year's fire department open house?
Well, when we formed Great Lakes Dryer Vent Services, it was almost 5 years ago, and I reached out to West Bloomfield Fire Department, and they invited us to this event. And 4 years now, this will be that we've joined in, and it's been a great opportunity to educate and meet new people in the community.
It absolutely is. And why is supporting the West Bloomfield community, and especially the fire department, important to you personally and professionally?
Personally, I've been a part of this community for several years, worked in the community, lived in the community, and year after year, it's just really nice to be able to meet new people, watch the kids have a great time. It's an excellent event as far as meeting people and educating them on fire safety, and it kind of we have the same goals as the fire department, and that's keeping people safe.
I'd imagine so. And as I said, you are the owner of Great Lakes Dryer Vent Services, and dryer vent safety is often overlooked, I would say. How does your work align with the mission of the fire department in terms of fire prevention and public safety?
Well, we all have the same goal. We want to get out there and teach people fire safety, and most importantly is fire prevention. So if we can educate a few people every year and they listen to us and understand the importance of getting your dryer vents cleaned every year, then we have, we've, been out there and taught the community what we want. We want everybody to be safe. That is our main goal. And this is an excellent opportunity to teach prevention, fire safety.
That's absolutely right. And I am curious, what does it mean to you as a local business owner to be part of an event that brings together first responders, families, and community leaders all throughout West Bloomfield for such a cause like this?
You know what? It's such a great community. And to teach the young kids, it's all about the kids that day. And they learn and they have fun and they get educated. And, we meet more and more people every year. And once again, it's the same. We just get the chance to teach people and educate them, watch people have a good time. It's a great event every year. And we just love being a part of it.
For those just joining us right now on the Splash Live, I'm talking with the owner of Great Lakes Dryer Vent Services, Tracy Carlock, who's going to be one of the sponsors and vendors of this year's West Bloomfield Fire Department Open House that is taking place on Sunday, September 21st. Now, we talked about you wanting to showcase and to talk about dryer vent safety and to make sure that everybody in West Bloomfield is informed. Is there maybe something involved with dryer vent safety that maybe people aren't necessarily aware of at first glance?
I think a lot of people overlook it. It's probably the last thing on people's list to have done at their homes. Not a lot of people think about it. And we want them to know the importance of it. We've talked to the people at the fire department in different places, and they see that. When they go to people's homes, that's how some of the fires start. And if we can teach them and let everybody know to get it done, then we've met our goals.
That's absolutely right. And when it comes to participating in events like this, what would you say is your favorite part of being part of something like this? Is it the education? Is it the bonds? What would you say that is?
It's a little bit of both. You see the same people every year. We love everybody coming to the event, having fun. It's a place where we meet up with the same people year after year with the opportunity of meeting new people. And it's just a really great, fun event, and we look forward to it.
I'd imagine so. And as we mentioned that once this open house is over, that fire department number 1 will be undergoing some very important construction changes, and it will last throughout the next year to create a brand new fire station in that area. Are you excited to see the new addition in West Bloomfield?
I can't wait, and I can't wait to what they have to offer in the future.
It's going to be fantastic, and it's going to be such a fun event. I can't wait to see you out there, Tracy. One more question before we wrap things up. Looking ahead, how do you hope to continue working with the West Bloomfield Fire Department and serving the local community?
Watching what they're getting ready to do some renovations and just being part of more and more different events in the community and having those relationships and just continuing to spread the word on fire safety and look at different ways we can do that in the future.
Absolutely. Well, can't wait to see what you guys do out there. Tracy, thank you so much for joining us today here on the Splash Live.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Once again, one more reminder, the Fire Department Open House is taking place this Sunday, September 21st. You will see Tracy out there, as well as several other people from West Bloomfield, all to benefit the West Bloomfield Fire Department. It's going to be such a great day. If you've got items in your home that you're looking to dispose of safely and properly, then mark your calendars for this Saturday, September 20th, as it's Household Hazardous Waste Day in West Bloomfield. Household Hazardous Waste Day gives residents the chance to safely dispose of unwanted household chemicals, electronics, and sensitive documents. West Bloomfield Township Supervisor Jonathan Warshay joins us right now on the Splash Live to tell us more. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me, and good morning, Jake.
Good morning to you as well. Now, Household Hazardous Waste Day, this has been going on for quite a few years at this point. Why does West Bloomfield Township prioritize hosting Household Hazardous Waste Day every year?
I think our residents have strong environmental concerns, and so we try to accommodate those. And this is one way we do that. Twice a year, they can get rid of things that are potentially hazardous in their house, and this, they just have to drive to town hall and do it. Let me just add too that if someone can't make this event, they can come to town hall and pick up a voucher to take it to a place in Livonia that will dispose of their hazardous waste.
Good. I love to hear that. That way you're helping as many people as possible. And we have some footage right now on our screen, if you're watching on Civic Center TV, from a past Household Hazardous Waste Day events. And there are many big environmental and community benefits that come from holding these collections events. What would you say some of the biggest might be?
Well, one of them is going to certainly be just to get rid of the dangerous items in your house, safely dispose of chemicals, e-waste, so anything associated with the computer, cell phone, typewriter if you have one you want to get rid of, a pager, old television. Sometimes we see these giant TVs. So you can get rid of all those things if you can get them here. Let me just say that regular appliances are not part of it, so you can't get rid of a stove or a refrigerator. However, DTE will take some of those, and they have a program. You just have to contact them and see what the requirements are. I got rid of an old refrigerator myself that way, and they gave me a $50 gift card.
Hey, there you go. And so you did bring up a really good point. You are accepting certain electronics, not some other ones. Can you explain how the township ensures that the electronics and the hazardous materials are disposed of safely and responsibly?
So we contract with ERG, which is a company that does that for its business. So they will take it back to their facilities and chop it up, take it apart, put it in whatever appropriate containers, just to make it safe for everyone.
Great to hear of this process to make sure that these electronics are disposed of safely. And how do you see these programs reinforcing West Bloomfield's commitment to sustainability and environmental stewardship?
Well, I think, it's one way, for example, families can teach their children to do that. It's, you have something that needs to get thrown out, they can have a place, go put it in the box over there. We'll take it to Hazardous Waste Day. They can bring their kids. So I think, you can sort of make it a family activity as well.
For those just joining us right now on the Splash Live, I'm talking with West Bloomfield Township Supervisor Jonathan Warshay, who's explaining about Household Hazardous Waste Day, which is taking place this Saturday, September 20th in West Bloomfield. Now, Jonathan, I'm sure, as you've mentioned, there are a wide variety of items that everybody drops off at events like these. What would you say are maybe some of the most common items that you tend to typically see at events like Hazardous Waste Day?
So you'll see a lot of batteries, like D cells, all of those disposable batteries. That'll be a lot of it. I see a lot of paint and other things as well. One thing this one won't do is shredding. We've separated the shredding event just to keep the traffic down. So if you need to shred, that'll be October 10th, one day only, a Friday from 4 to 7. And while I'm at it, I should add that Hazardous Waste Day is 2 days. It's this Friday from 4 to 6 for if you're a senior citizen. And then Saturday morning on the 20th will be between 9 and noon.
That's absolutely right. Very important thing to point out, an additional time for the seniors on Friday from 4 to 6. Now, it should be important to note that this event is limited to residents of West Bloomfield, Kego Harbor, Orchard Lake, and Sylvan Lake. Why is it important to limit the participation to those residents?
Because our residents pay a fee for their trash hauling, an environmental service fee. And those other three communities also buy into this. So either the residents themselves or their municipalities have paid to participate. So that's why we limit it to those.
Of course, very, very important rulings for that. Now, I am curious, how would you say the community has responded to past household waste days, and how have you seen the participation grow over that time?
Well, I'd say just the volume has grown as people try to clean out their houses. We try to do it spring and fall just because of spring cleaning, and then sort of a fall cleaning as well. And I think when we don't, if we couldn't have it, there would be sort of a clamor not to. We see people lining up well before it starts, and we'd certainly ask people not to do that on Orchard Lake, on Walnut Lake, because it does back up to Orchard Lake. And in fact, this Friday, I believe, is the homecoming parade, so it's going to be extra crowded on Walnut Lake. So for the seniors, you might want to come, time it so you miss the parade, so you're not in it yourself as you're coming to Hazardous Waste Day.
Yeah, definitely sounds like there's going to be a lot of traffic on Friday. Jonathan, looking ahead, do you see opportunities to maybe expand or adapt these services to further support the community's environmental goals?
Well, that's certainly something we're considering. We'll work with our partners on that, and we'll also look to see if we can move it to a more suitable location. Next year, for example, the new Connect, the Recreation Activity Center, will be under construction, and certainly that will be pose difficulties for traffic coming in and as well. So we're going to see what we can do to make it smoother for everyone.
All right, good to know that you guys are planning ahead. Jonathan, before we let you go, is there anywhere where people can gain a little bit more information about Household Hazardous Waste Day before they make their plans to come out to West Bloomfield this weekend?
Sure. So if you go to our website, wbtownship.org, and you go if you just search Household Hazardous Waste, it'll come up with a page that'll have all the dates and times, as well as links to what you can and cannot bring.
All right, important information available at wbtownship.org. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us today here on the Splash Live.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, once again, Household Hazardous Waste Day is going to be taking place this weekend with a senior drop-off on Friday from 4 to 6, and then the bigger drop-off on Saturday, September 20th. We're going to take a quick break and jump into some more stories right here on the Splash Live right after this. Live, local, social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
We'll be right back with the Splash Live.
Wondering what to say to someone who's been sexually assaulted or abused?
I believe you. I'm so sorry this happened.
It's not your fault.
Confidential and anonymous help is available at the Michigan Sexual Assault Hotline. Connect with us 24/7. Call 855-VOICES-4 or text 1-866-238-1454 for help. Learn more at michigan.gov/voices4.
Hi, I'm Senator Rosemary Bayer, and I want to say congratulations to Civic Center TV for 1 million views on YouTube. I just want to thank all the people at Civic Center TV for being such a great community partner for me and the entire community, for bringing us serious news and some seriously fun stories all about our community directly to us. I'm State Senator Rosemary Bayer, and I'm proud to be 1 in a million.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those barbecues you plan in detail for your family? Or your daughter's first costume party? It was out of this world. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
When you have a gambling problem, you have a money problem. Don't let your gambling cause you financial hardship. If you or someone you love is struggling with gambling, we can help. Get free confidential counseling and win your life back. Learn more at michigan.gov/problemgambling.
Find local municipal meetings at our program schedule on civiccentertv.com. Find when your meetings air live or when they're replaying on our Civic Center TV live stream. Find it all at civiccentertv.com and click schedule at the top of the screen. And now, back to The Splash, live.
Live, local, social. It's The Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Jake Schaff. September is Emergency Preparedness Month, with agencies statewide encouraging Michiganders to be prepared for hazards in and outside of their homes. We recently welcomed Mike Patton to The Splash Live, a West Bloomfield Township trustee with over 20 years of experience in public safety, many of which were spent as the chief of police in West Bloomfield. And he gave us some very important and very valuable information to take with us.
Former Chief, welcome back.
Good morning.
Glad to have you on, Trustee Patton, to talk about emergency preparedness, something that you have had a strong role in helping our community be ready for many years in your capacity with the West Bloomfield Police Department. For individuals and their families in our community, how important is their own emergency preparedness in the full scope of how our local police, fire, EMS, and other emergency apparatus factor in when an emergency hits?
Well, I think, Tyler, thanks for inviting me on this morning. You know, I brought up at the recent township board meeting, in addition to the other recognitions they are doing for Suicide Prevention Month and other recognitions, that September is National Preparedness Month. And I think that is something that we need to focus on probably a little bit more in the community. We're fortunate that we've not had widespread or frequent emergencies or widespread kind of catastrophes within the community. But I think it's always best to be prepared. You know, if you fail to plan, then you're planning to fail. And I think that's what we need to concentrate on a little bit more sometimes. When you're looking at preparedness, you don't have to go full tilt survivalist, prepper kind of mentality. But I think there's some basic core things that we encourage our residents to do. And one of the first things you need to do is to have a plan in place. You need to sit down with your family members or important others in your life and sit back and say, what if? What if this happened? What if there was a tornado? What if there was a protracted power outage? What if the water, we had loss of water? We've seen those kind of things happen, at least sometimes in the recent history in West Bloomfield. But it's good to have a plan in place to talk about what you'd have. And those plans need to be perhaps unique to your family. Do you have children? Do you have pets? Do you have elderly residents in your home? Do you have people with infirmities or disabilities that need to be considered? That if we had to stay in the home here for a protracted period of time, how would we get along? How would we be able to sustain our life and health within the home? And I think those are important discussions to have.
And it's because these emergencies that do pop up, they're not small emergencies just here in Greater West Bloomfield. Often they do affect multiple communities. Yes, there are those tornado warnings that come up, those floods that come up in certain places here and there. But we have had major incidents throughout the years. The blackout in the Metro Detroit area over 20 years ago, that affected Greater West Bloomfield. The COVID-19 pandemic, even a water main break just a few years ago, shut off a significant portion of our township's water for a significant period of time, and we had to be individually and collectively prepared for that. And so, Trustee Patton, as people make that individual plan, how does that then factor into the wider spread preparedness that is often led by our police, our fire, and our EMS?
Well, look, there are always going to be public safety services that are out there working, perhaps working harder when an emergency happens. I think one of the things you need to do is to stay dialed in to understand that when something is tipping off, that you are alert and then you can activate your plan in place. There are some things we'd recommend people do. Like one is getting an emergency radio. It has no weather radio capability so that you can be alert. Now, this particular one right here, and it's not supporting a particular brand, because there's a lot you can find online, is a hand crank radio that you don't need to have electricity for. That if the power is out, you can take it out, hand crank it for a few minutes, and then you could listen to radio notifications, even if you're listening to 89.3 Lakes FM for those notifications. It's important to keep in plan. So, look, you want to have water in your home. I mean, people always think, well, if the water's out, I'll just run down to the local store, or Myers or Walmart or someplace, and get some water. By the time you get out of bed and have that thought, everyone else is in line in front of you, and there may not be those local resources for you to buy. So I think it's important that you do those kind of things. You want to have sufficient water in your home for a few days. There are resources out there you can look at. You can look at the FEMA website or the ready.gov federal websites for information or suggestions. You can look at Oakland County, the gov.net website, and look at resources there. You can look at the state of Michigan website. One couple of things we always recommend people to do here in West Bloomfield, there is a Nixle, Nixle alert system that you can subscribe to. The information on that, you go on the township website, on the police webpage, it'll tell you how simple it is to subscribe to that. And you can get notifications whether about the road is closed due to a traffic crash, or about other emergency notifications, and those are primarily put out by the police department. You can also sign up for the Oakland County alert system. I just got a notification the other day that they were changing some of their format, a specific system they were using, and you want to be able to use that and to put out a wider range area of communications. West Bloomfield we do task our emergency management responsibilities to Oakland County. So, in an area-wide emergency, we would be looking to Oakland County to help manage and resource us here in West Bloomfield. Our great fire chief, Greg Flynn, is our point of contact for emergency management with Oakland County.
And it's all about being prepared, both individually and as your collective in your household. Even here in Greater West Bloomfield, one of the more safe communities in all of Metro Detroit and all of the state of Michigan, that preparedness does play a huge role when emergencies do arise, either in your home, in your neighborhood, or all throughout the community and beyond. West Bloomfield Township trustee and former police chief Michael Patton joins us on the Splash Live for more information on National Preparedness Month, as well as resources to help you form your plan with you and yours. Ready.gov/September is the website. That is their National Preparedness Month website. Individually, it has plenty of different information on there, including a helpful toolkit, some messages, some additional resources for low and no cost tips that will help you and your family, building a family emergency plan, and all of that. Ready.gov/September. And Trustee Patton, not only is having this information important, not only is making a plan important, the final element is then practicing that plan. How important in preparedness is the practice element?
Well, look, we always advocate an all hazards approach, so that most of what you're doing or planning for could be used or applicable to whatever the situation or emergency that you're facing at the time. So whether it's a weather-related thing, or it's a power-related, or a water-related, that all hazards are kind of approach. There's one website that I think it's actually based in a Michigan-based company called Do One Thing, and they advocate on a monthly basis. Matter of fact, they have calendars that you can purchase, that they advocate that you start concentrating, just take one thing that you can do each month, whether it be getting water, talking about medical emergencies, developing a first aid kit, a shelter, special needs. Do one thing per month, and over the course of a year, you're basically covered probably a wide latitude of things that you should be concentrating on. Look, you mentioned earlier about the police and fire, and yes, they'll be very active in the community along with other resources in any kind of emergency. But it's important that you develop with your family, whether at home or at work, some resiliency. Because yes, government will be there to start managing and bringing containment and closure to whatever the emergency is, but you need to be, as an individual and as a family, and perhaps as a business, you need to be resilient, and you be able to survive and outlast the emergency basically on your own, maybe regardless of whether or not emergency services are there to help you.
You think about it sort of like the road commission when they're clearing out those main roads after a big snowstorm. They start with the most heavily trafficked areas. So does our local emergency services. Those areas of the greatest overall need are where they're going to start, the macro down to the micro. That's why you take care of the micro at home, outward to help the macro in our community. Chief Patton, thank you so much for your time today, as always.
Thank you very much.
All very important information for everybody to take with them throughout Emergency Preparedness Month. We appreciate Mike Patton for taking the time to talk with us here on the Splash Live. And you can stay up to date with all of the updates and all of our interviews and episodes with the Splash Live on our website. You can just scan the QR code that is on your screen right now. That will take you directly to civiccentertv.com to check out all of our past content. But that's going to do it for us today here on the Splash Live. I want to say a big thank you to all of our guests and for everybody on the Splash Live team for helping to make this show possible. I've been your host, Jake Schaff. Live, local, social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.